Hello, welcome or welcome back. For those who don't know me, my name is Desiree and I read a lot of books and I like to talk about them. So, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be picking my January TBR using a TBR wheel. Now I found this app, it's called Spin the Wheel, I'll link it in the description. And I found this specific wheel that has a bunch of TBR prompts. And there are so many, I'll put it up on the screen here, but I cannot even read them all. So I'm super excited because I don't really know what to expect. But for January, we're going to be picking 5 books for my TBR. I'm doing this because last year I read 101 books in total, which is super cool, super exciting, but I feel like I was so focused on the quantity rather than the quality of books. And this year I really want to prioritize and focus on the quality of books. So like taking my time reading books that are like good. And obviously you don't know when you read a book if it's gonna be good or not in your opinion, but I would prefer to try and read books slower and annotate and just really value the book more, I guess, in a way. So all that to say, we're picking 5 books for my TBR today. Let us start with the first one. So I'll have the wheel here in the corner so you guys can see. But we will spin. Title starts with a B. So this is my TBR over here. I'm going to look real quick. But one book on my TBR that starts with a B, and it is Betting on You by Lynn Painter, which I am so excited because I love Lynn Painter. And I've had this on my TBR for a while. Like when it first came out, I was like, oh, buying it. And you know, it's just been sitting there because all these other books I've decided to read instead. But I'm super excited. I love rom-coms and I don't really know what this is about, but at the end I'll give a little summary about what each book is about. But we have Betting on You for the first one. On to our second one. Library book. So I'm actually excited because I recently got a library card. So we will have to take a trip to the library here soon and I'll have to try and pick something out. So, okay, now we're on to number 3. This wheel is actually so fun because it helps me to pick books. And I'm very indecisive when it comes to literally everything, but picking books is definitely one of them. Pink cover. I honestly have a few that I really don't want to read. Magnolia Parks and Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I have tried to read both of these and I cannot get into them. I don't like smut though, and I feel like these have a lot in it. I don't really know about this one. I didn't get far in this one. I just thought the writing style was kind of annoying, which I'm sorry if you love this book because I hear it's very well loved and I might try and read it again, but just not a fan. And this one is very insta-lovey. Don't like that, and very physical relationship over emotional, and I don't like that. So I'm already gonna count these 2 out for the pink cover. So the 3 that I have are How I'll Kill You by Ren DiStefano, don't know the last name. Authentically Izzy by Pepper Basham. And then Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which I have not read any Elsie Silver, including the Spring series that is like super duper popular. I don't like smut, and I just heard there's a lot of smut in it. That's why I haven't read. But I still have this book because it looked pretty and I wanted to get on the hype train, I guess. So because I'm indecisive again, I'm going to ask Siri to pick a number 1 through 3, and that's the one we'll put on our TBR. Hey Siri, pick a number 1 through 3. 2. So we're going to go with Authentically Izzy by Pepper Basham. That's how I'm going to pronounce her name. Hopefully that's right. To our 4th one. Let's see what we get. Person on the cover. So I'm considering person as in like a character, because all the books on my TBR, I don't have any nonfiction, and I feel like usually nonfiction has like a real life person on the cover. So I'm gonna categorize this as like this being a person on the cover. I'm gonna just go with these two because the other ones, there's characters on the cover. However, they're like very small and not really like the center focus. Whereas I feel like Scarlet, she's the focus on this. And the dagger and the flame, like these two characters are like the main focus on the cover. So I am again gonna ask Siri because I am very much so indecisive. Hey Siri. Pick a number 1 to 2. 1. So we are going to be reading Scarlet by Marissa Meyer, which I'm so excited. I read Cinder last year and I absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to be in this world again. Okay, and for our last and final one, let's spin the wheel. Flowers. So I want to say maybe flowers on the cover or flowers has something to do within the book. Also, sorry if you hear my dog in the background. He's sad. Immediately when we got the prompt flowers, whether it's talking about flowers in the book or on the cover, I thought of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies, and I have had this on my mental TBR for a while. I just recently got it from my sister for Christmas, but I have been wanting to read it for a while, and this just seems like a very whimsical, flowery type of world, so I'm going to do that. Okay, I actually decided, which please don't be disappointed in me, I don't want to go to the library because I have a whole bunch of books on my TBR already, and I'd really like to try and get through those before I venture out to get different books. And I feel like it's kind of pointless to get a library book that I already have on my physical TBR. So we're gonna redo prompt 2 and pick a different book from my physical TBR right now. So we're gonna go ahead and spin the wheel one last time to pick our final book. Favorite author. That is the hardest TBR prompt I think ever, because how can one have just one favorite author? Which maybe you guys do, but like to me, when I think about certain books, I'm like, yes, that's like my favorite author. But then I think of like a completely different genre, I'm like, oh wait, like in this world, that's my favorite author. It really just depends on what I'm in the mood for. But we'll go off of what is on my TBR, what authors I have on my TBR. I have a lot of new authors on my TBR, to be honest. So I might just have to pick a repeat author to go along with this prompt. Not that they're necessarily my favorite author, but actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I know exactly which book I'm gonna pick. And it is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. When I talked about the favorite authors tangent I just went on, I love Lynn Painter, and I'd say she's probably one of my favorite rom-com authors or young adult romance authors. So I feel like this is fitting. And that's so exciting to have 2 Lynn Painter books on my TBR for this month. So going through them, we have Betting on You by Lynn Painter. It is about a guy and a girl, and when they were younger, they had known each other from some specific circumstances. Later on, and they didn't really like get along, or not necessarily get along, but they weren't friends or anything. He was just a very opinionated stranger is what it says. And later on, she finds herself working with this guy named Charlie and finds herself laughing with him, and then he has a proposition like, you can't just be friends with someone of the opposite sex, and she makes a bet sort of thing to try and prove him wrong. So that is Betting on You. Second one is Authentically Izzy by Pepper Basham. I really don't know how to say her last name. This book is about a girl named Izzy, and just reading the description, it seems like she's a writer, which is super fun. I love like bookish people inside of books. And she meets this guy from a dating website that her cousin sets her up for, even though she doesn't want to go on it. And she's like, everything is checking out, like he's Mr. Right. This other guy is sweet and meets her for coffee, and so she's trying to figure out like, okay, like which way am I leaning? What do I do? Seems like a cute little romance. So Authentically Izzy. Third one is Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, and I read Cinder last year, absolutely loved it. I don't want to spoil what happened in the last book, but from this perspective, her grandma is missing and she encounters Wolf, who is a street fighter who may have information about her grandma's whereabouts. So she kind of teams up with him. She doesn't really trust him because he's a stranger, but they end up meeting Cinder on this whole little goose chase of finding their grandmother, and their worlds kind of intertwined together. So I'm super excited to see what kind of happens in this world and what goes on with that. Fourth one, we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This was so popular last year. Never got around to reading it, so excited I'm going to be reading it this month. Also, the pages are pretty fun. I've never read a book with pages like this. I don't know if you can even see it, but they're kind of like scattered. They're not like even, which kind of bothers me a little bit, to be honest, but I feel like it goes with the vibe of the book, so I kind of like it at the same time. And this one is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, so I don't really remember what the normal cover looks like, but this one is super cute, so love that. This is about a girl named Emily Wilde. She's a professor and she studies fairies, and she is like an expert on them, and she travels somewhere in order to learn more about like a specific type of fairy, I believe. And it says that she's not like good with people. She's just like, you know, she focuses on her studies and fairies and stuff like that, but not really a people person. And then she ends up meeting this guy, and like, I'm sure something will happen. I really hope there's some romance in this. I haven't heard much about romance in this, but love a good romance in a book, and it just seems fun and whimsical. So our final book is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I absolutely love Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, and so I'm really excited to go back into Wes and Liz's story. And from what I've read of this, is something happened between Liz and Wes in between the time they were going to college or starting college, and Wes has to do everything he can to try and win her back. So there was like a sort of breakup thing, which is kind of sad because I loved how Better Than the Movies ended. So I'm very curious to see if I feel like this book was necessary, or if I'll be sad that she wrote this book. Because to be honest, when I saw this coming out, I thought it was going to be like a whole different love story, not continuing off of Wes and Liz, just like the title kind of going along with that book. But I'm very interested to see what goes on in this book. So there you have it, my January TBR. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you later.